What would you do if the person you trusted more than anyone in this world turned out to be living a double life? What if every kiss, every promise, every "I love you" was just a mask hiding something dark and unforgivable? Today, I'm going to share with you a story that will make your blood boil, your heart break, and ultimately, remind you that karma never forgets an address. This is the story of how I discovered my husband's secret affair and how the truth slipped out in the most unexpected way possible. So sit back, get comfortable, and prepare yourself because this journey is going to take you through every emotion you can imagine. My name is Sarah, and for 12 years I believed I was living the perfect life. I met Daniel when I was 23 years old, fresh out of college, full of dreams and hope for the future. He walked into my life like a movie scene. I was working at a small marketing firm, struggling to make ends meet, when he came in as a new client. He was charming, successful, and had this smile that could light up an entire room. From the moment our eyes met, I felt something I had never felt before. It was like the universe was telling me that this man was meant to be in my life. And fool that I was, I listened. Our courtship was like something out of a romance novel. He would send me flowers at work, take me to fancy restaurants, and whisper sweet promises about our future together. Within a year, he got down on one knee in Paris, the city of love, and asked me to be his wife. I said yes without a moment of hesitation. Why would I hesitate? This man was everything I had ever dreamed of. He was kind, attentive, successful, and he looked at me like I was the only woman in the world, or so I thought. We got married in a beautiful ceremony surrounded by friends and family. My mother cried tears of joy, telling me how lucky I was to have found such a wonderful man. My father shook Daniel's hand and welcomed him into our family with open arms. Everyone believed we were the perfect couple, and for years, I believed it too. We bought a beautiful house in the suburbs. We talked about having children. We built a life together brick by brick. I gave up my career to support his growing business. I became the perfect wife, the perfect hostess, the perfect partner. I sacrificed my dreams so that his could flourish. And I did it all with love in my heart because I trusted him completely. But here's the thing about trust. It's like a mirror. Once it's broken, you can try to put the pieces back together, but you'll always see the cracks. And my mirror was about to shatter into a million pieces. It started with little things, things so small that I almost missed them. Daniel started working late more often than usual. His phone became glued to his hand, and he would take calls in the other room with the door closed. When I asked him about it, he would kiss my forehead and tell me it was just work stress. He said the company was going through some changes and he needed to put in extra hours. I believed him. Why wouldn't I? This was my husband, the man who had promised to love and cherish me for the rest of his life. Then came the business trips. Suddenly, Daniel was traveling every other week, sometimes to cities I had never heard him mention before. He would come home smelling different, not like his usual cologne, but something sweeter, something feminine. When I mentioned it, he laughed and said he had been in meetings with clients who wore strong perfume. Again, I believed him. I was so desperate to hold on to my perfect life that I refused to see what was right in front of me. But the truth has a way of finding the light, doesn't it? No matter how deep you bury it, no matter how many lies you pile on top of it, the truth always finds a way to surface. And for me, that moment came on a cold Tuesday evening in November. It's funny how we remember exactly where we were when our world fell apart. I was in the kitchen, preparing Daniel's favorite dinner, chicken parmesan with homemade pasta. He had texted me earlier saying he would be home by 7. I wanted everything to be perfect. I had candles lit, wine breathing on the counter, and soft music playing in the background. I was planning to tell him that night that I was finally ready to start trying for a baby. After years of waiting for the right moment, I felt like this was it. At 6:45, Daniel's phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. He had left it there when he went upstairs to change. I wasn't going to look. I trusted him, remember? But then it buzzed again, and again, and again. 5 messages in a row. Something in my gut twisted. Call it intuition, call it fate, call it whatever you want. But something told me to pick up that phone. The messages were from someone named Mike from accounting. But when I opened the conversation, my heart stopped. There was nothing about accounting in those messages. Instead, I found myself staring at words that would be burned into my memory forever. I miss you already, baby. Last night was incredible. When can I see you again? I hate that you have to go home to her. You deserve so much better. I love you, Daniel. Forever yours, Monica. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. It felt like someone had reached into my chest and ripped my heart out with their bare hands. I scrolled up, and the messages went back months. Months of declarations of love, months of secret meetings, months of lies. There were photos, too. Photos of a woman I had never seen before, a woman who was younger than me, prettier than me, the woman my husband had been sleeping with behind my back. I heard footsteps on the stairs and something inside me shifted. The heartbreak was still there, crushing my chest, but something else was rising too. Something cold and calculating. In that moment, I made a decision. I was not going to confront him. Not yet. I was going to play the long game. I was going to make sure that when the truth came out, it would destroy him in ways he never saw coming. So when Daniel walked into the kitchen, I smiled at him like nothing was wrong. I served him dinner, I poured him wine, and I listened as he lied to my face about his day at work. He talked about meetings and deadlines and how tired he was from all the hard work. And the whole time, I sat there knowing that he had been with her. Every smile, every touch, every word that came out of his mouth was a knife in my heart. But I didn't flinch. I had become an actress in my own life, waiting for the perfect moment to bring down the curtain on his performance. Over the next few weeks, I gathered evidence. I became a detective in my own home, documenting everything. I found receipts for hotels I had never been to, jewelry I had never received, dinners at restaurants in cities where he claimed to be in boring business meetings. I discovered that Monica was not just some random woman. She was his secretary. The same secretary he had hired 2 years ago. The one he told me was barely competent and not worth noticing. He had been lying about her from the very beginning, but I didn't stop there. You see, Daniel and I had a prenuptial agreement. It was his idea, actually. He wanted to protect his assets in case anything ever happened to our marriage. At the time, I was hurt that he would even suggest such a thing, but I signed it because I loved him and I never imagined we would divorce. That prenup had a clause that Daniel probably forgot about. It stated that in the event of infidelity, the cheating spouse would forfeit all claims to shared assets and would be required to pay significant damages to the other party. Daniel had basically signed his own death warrant and he didn't even remember it. I consulted with a lawyer, a shark of a woman named Patricia who had a reputation for destroying cheating spouses in court. She looked at the evidence I had gathered and smiled a smile that sent shivers down my spine. She told me I had everything I needed. We started building a case, quietly, carefully, making sure Daniel had no idea what was coming. Meanwhile, I started protecting myself financially. I had access to our joint accounts, so I began slowly moving money into a separate account in my name only. I documented every asset, every investment, every piece of property we owned together. I made copies of every important document in our house. I was preparing for war, and Daniel was completely oblivious. 3 months after I discovered the affair, I was ready to make my move. But I wanted to do it in a way that would maximize his humiliation. Call it petty, call it vengeful. But after 12 years of giving this man everything I had, I wanted him to feel a fraction of the pain he had caused me. I planned a dinner party, a big one, with all of our friends, his business partners, and most importantly, his parents. His mother had always been so proud of her son, always bragging about what a wonderful husband he was, always telling me how lucky I was to have him. I wanted her to see the truth. I wanted everyone to see the truth. The night of the dinner party, I played the perfect hostess one last time. I greeted guests with a smile, served appetizers, and made small talk like nothing was wrong. Daniel was charming as always, working the room, shaking hands, kissing cheeks. He had no idea that he was walking into an ambush. When everyone was seated for dinner, I stood up and tapped my glass to get their attention. I told them I had an announcement to make. Daniel smiled at me, probably thinking I was going to say something sweet about our marriage, or maybe announce that we were expecting. The look on his face when I pulled out the printed screenshots of his messages to Monica is something I will never forget. Daniel tried to speak, tried to explain, tried to turn the tables and make himself the victim. But there was nothing he could say. The evidence was overwhelming. His parents left without saying goodbye to him. His business partners suddenly remembered they had other places to be. By the end of the night, Daniel was sitting alone at a table full of cold food, surrounded by the wreckage of the life he had destroyed. The divorce was brutal. Daniel tried to fight it, tried to claim the prenup was signed under duress, tried to paint me as a vindictive wife. But Patricia was relentless. Every lie he told, she exposed. Every tactic he tried, she countered. In the end, the judge ruled in my favor. Daniel lost the house, a significant portion of his savings, and was ordered to pay me alimony for the next 10 years. His reputation was destroyed. His business suffered as clients pulled out, not wanting to be associated with a known cheater and liar. But here's the part that surprised me. After the dust settled, after the lawyers were paid and the papers were signed, I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would. The revenge had tasted sweet in the moment, but it didn't heal the wound. It didn't undo the years of lies. It didn't give me back the time I had wasted on a man who never truly loved me. The victory was hollow, and I realized that the greatest revenge was not what I had done to Daniel. The greatest revenge was what I was going to do for myself. I used the money from the divorce settlement to start over. I went back to school, finished my degree, and started my own marketing firm. The same dreams I had given up for Daniel, I now pursued for myself. I traveled to places I had always wanted to see, made new friends, and slowly learned to trust again. It wasn't easy. There were nights when I cried myself to sleep, wondering if I would ever feel whole again. But with each passing day, the wound healed a little more. As for Daniel, I heard through mutual friends that Monica left him shortly after the divorce was finalized. Apparently, she wasn't interested in a man who had lost his money and his reputation. He tried to start over, but the stain of his betrayal followed him everywhere. Last I heard, he was working at a small firm in another city, a shadow of the successful man he once was. His parents barely spoke to him. His friends had moved on. He had everything, and he threw it all away for an affair that meant nothing in the end. And Monica? She thought she had won. She thought she was going to ride off into the sunset with my husband. But karma had other plans. The man she stole couldn't even keep her interested once the excitement of the affair was gone. She ended up alone, just like he did. Two selfish people who deserved each other but couldn't even keep their toxic relationship alive. Now, some of you might be thinking that I was too harsh, that I should have handled things differently. And maybe you're right. Maybe revenge wasn't the answer. But here's what I learned from this experience. When someone shows you who they really are, believe them. Don't make excuses for their behavior. Don't convince yourself that things will get better. Don't sacrifice your own happiness for someone who doesn't value you. I spent 12 years loving a man who was living a lie, and the only person who suffered for it was me. But I also learned something else, something more important. Our worth is not determined by how others treat us. Daniel's betrayal said nothing about my value as a person. It said everything about his character. I was not the one who was lacking. He was. And once I realized that, I was finally able to let go of the anger and the pain. So if you're watching this and you're going through something similar, if you've been betrayed by someone you trusted, know that you are not alone. Know that the pain you're feeling right now will not last forever. And know that the best revenge is not destroying the person who hurt you. The best revenge is building a life so beautiful that you forget you ever wanted revenge in the first place. I'm not going to pretend that I'm completely healed. Some wounds leave scars that never fully fade. But I'm happier now than I ever was with Daniel. I have a life that I built with my own hands, a business that I'm proud of, and friends who love me for who I am. I've even started dating again, slowly and carefully, with eyes wide open this time. Daniel taught me that not everyone who says they love you actually does. But more importantly, he taught me that I am stronger than I ever knew. He thought he could break me, but all he did was set me free. Thank you for listening to my story. If it resonated with you, if it made you feel less alone in your own struggles, then sharing it was worth it. Remember, no matter how dark things seem right now, there is always light at the end of the tunnel. And sometimes, the people who hurt us the most are simply clearing the path for something better to come into our lives. Until next time, take care of yourselves, trust your instincts, and never forget that you deserve to be loved honestly and completely. Because anything less than that is not love at all. It's just a lie wearing love's mask.